All right. Lights, camera, action, wiggles. Welcome to my freaking podcast. Let's do it. Woo! Oh no, wait. Oh no. That's the wrong podcast intro. Hang on. That's better, guys. That was the Luke and Lewis podcast intro. Not my one. Maybe I shouldn't title them both podcast intro on my little button thing here. Shoo-doo-bop-a-da-boo. Somewhere on the scene. Welcome to chapter 176 of Histories of a Happy Chappy, and I looked it up this week after the absolute debacle that happened at the start of last week's episode. I think I derailed the entire podcast about 30 seconds in when I tried to vibe whatever episode number it was, and I think I was about 45 off the pace. It was 175 last week, and I guessed 134, I think. And I was like, guys, I think that sounds about right. Oh, how wrong I was. Episode 134 would have been about a year ago. And in my head, I've just skipped past, 45 episodes that apparently haven't existed for me. But, yeah, I hope you guys are well. I'm good. I've had a great week. But I'm not going to come in this week and... Oh, by the way, sorry. Someone reminded me or made me realize why I said 134 before I move on. I think it was Luke and Lewis episode 134 last week. So maybe I was thinking about that. I'm probably just stupid. That's actually probably the reason. But I appreciate it that one person gave me the benefit of the doubt and were like, nah, mate, you were probably just thinking about your other podcast. A lot of stuff going on. No worries, bros, I got ya. And I appreciate that. But the reality is I'm probably stupid. Or maybe I did get the numbers confused. I guess it is likely. Anyway, I've had a good week. Now, I'm not going to come in here and say I've had a big week or a huge week. Or, sometimes I come on this podcast and I'm just like, guys, massive news, lot to get to, heaps of stuff going on. This is not one of those weeks. Okay, this podcast is about my life. And life isn't always massive, big, huge, and popping. Sometimes life is just, that burp came at a perfect time. Sometimes that's life. Just, I don't know why why am I burp? I apologize. Really bad for an audio medium. Just burping. That's disgusting. Well, I feel like if you're new here, we've already got off to the wrong foot, and I apologize. Not a great first impression. If this was the first podcast you decided to check out, I'm just burping in your eardrums. Oh my God, now hiccup. What's wrong with me? Do you see that? I inhaled too much on the laugh. I was like, yeah, I've had a good week. Just nothing crazy. Last week I bombarded you with news and big things. I won a Weet-Bix cricket set, new shoes, just unheard of that those two things coincide in 1 week. A bit of a coincidence, I think, that last week was just massive. This week, run-of-the-mill, Groundhog Day type stuff, not going to lie. Went to the pub on Friday, but again, at this point, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, that's pretty much Groundhog Day. Way to switch it up, Luke. Way to keep life interesting. What? You going to the pub on a weekend? Jeez. The man loves trying new things, doesn't he? I did go to the pub with Reese. Those nights at the pub where just fuck all happens? You're just at the pub and you know what it is? It's the time slot. We booked in at 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. because it's like a 2-hour time slot at the moment in Melbourne. And that's not the 2 hours where a lot happens in the pub. To me, so no stories from them, nothing to report. Probably shouldn't have even have brought it up, but Reese and I have been working really hard on videos and stuff lately. You've been watching the second channel. A few of the videos have been going quite well on that, which I'm stoked about. The Pro Gamer channel, as well as this channel, the podcast channel. So, yeah, massive shout out to Reese for crushing the editing game. And here's one. Literally before I saw the podcast, right? Meg's just ordered a new Christmas tree. She had to order it in from Queensland because Victoria is out of stock, apparently, for Christmas trees. There is not a single Christmas tree in this state that is available to purchase. Apparently they're gone at Kmart, Target, Maya, you name it. She even tried the reject shop. And I'm assuming that's where all the fuck trees go, you know? All the ones with the plastics all like, looking like a pretzel sticking out the side. Or like that's... So you couldn't even get a fuck tree. So then she had to order one from Queensland. And I've been staring at the box all week because obviously I'm not unpacking it. It's not December, you know? I saw it sitting in my lounge room and went, bit early for that. And I'm not doing it. So, you know, if Meg wants to, great. I'm not going to stop her. But I just don't want to get festive too early, which I'll get to. I'll get to celebrating Christmas too early. I talk about it every year. And it's a yearly tradition on this podcast that we shit on Christmas joy up until December. And I have a good reason for it. Just hear me out later on, okay? So this Christmas tree is sitting like in our lounge room, and on the side of the box, it's quite a big box, I guess. It's a Christmas tree. And it says, stop, think, lift. Because I guess it's heavy, right? But I read that the first time, and I was just like, maybe I was tired. I think I'd done a big day in Frankston. We're doing the show. I'd done like a 12-hour day, probably running off like 6 hours sleep because the hustle never stops, and it was a really hot night, and I didn't sleep well. And I came out after a big day, saw it in the lounge room, and just went, stop, think, lift. And my brain actually went, what? They want us to lift it with our fucking brain? What? Why would thinking help? Like, that's not helping anyone. Stop, think, lift. That only applies to Jedis and Chris Angel. You know? You want me to lift it with my mind? Nah. That's so good, dude. Stop, lift, think. It's like that when you cross the road, you're like, stop, look, and listen. You know, like that little jingle or whatever it was. So you cross the road safely. Who has time to sing a jingle when they're busy crossing a road? Never once as a kid was I like about to cross a road, just, walk on without looking, and then be like, oh, the song. Stop, look, listen, think, or whatever it said. Is that what this Christmas tree box is trying to do? Rip off that jingle, that road safety jingle. Not happy about that. So, that was a thing that happened. I accused Target, I think it was from Target, the Christmas tree. I pretty much accused Target of trying to just market their Christmas trees to Jedis and magicians. And until Meg pointed out that she was like, no, it obviously just means think before you lift it. Stop, think about it before you lift. And I wish I had the same thing before I spoke. I wish on the box it said, stop, think, address this sign in a non-stupid way. But all I went was like, how the fuck would thinking help lift? So that's where my week's at. I hope you guys are having a better one than that, I guess. Here's an actual thing, but my week just got really thrown out. I was chatting to Ruben, who edits stuff for Luke and Lewis. We were chatting for some reason. He said he was talking about some person messaged him on Instagram, like if he was a Sagittarius or not. Something like that. Like, are you a Sagittarius? And something about horoscopes. So we started talking about zodiac signs, and he goes, he goes, you heard about the new changes. What zodiac sign are you now? I was like, what do you mean, mate? I'm an Aries. I'm always been an Aries. I'll never not be an Aries. That's me, dude. I'm the Ram. I think it's the Ram. And that's been just my whole life. I don't get asked a lot, but people go, what star sign are you, Luke? I must know now, quickly. Happens more than you'd think. And straight away, I'm always like, Aries, because I know it. I probably couldn't even list all 12. Well, all the 12 original ones. I'll tell you about that next. So hang on. This isn't good content, but I'm going to try and list them. Scorpio, Libra, Cancer. Fuck. Pisces, no. What's the crab? Is that Cancer? Pisces, Gemini, Capricorn. I'm counting these wrong on my hand as well. I've got 6. That's heaps. That's like more than I thought I'd know, to be honest. There's one that starts with something. There's a few more that start with letters. Huh. Yeah. That's annoying. I've been doing that to people, by the way. Whenever they've been like, give me a clue. I'm like, word starts with a letter. They're like, get fucked. It's a good one. It's a guaranteed banger. I would recommend trying it on your friends. Yeah, no, I can't think of any more. Anyway, so I'm not that, as you can tell, not that into star signs because I enjoy facts and science and have respect for my time, essentially, is the 3 reasons why I don't engage in reading my horoscope. But a lot of people do, and that's fine. You know, if you want to identify to a fucking zodiac sign in the sky, then that's on you. It says a lot about you for sure, you know? And anyone who asks someone about their star sign, it also says a lot about them as well. But, you know, I would say deep down, I'm always just like, yeah, I'm an Aries and I'm comfortable with that, right? My birthday's on March 27th, okay? That's an Aries. Well, it turns out I'm wrong. I think apparently this was news a few months ago. I completely missed it. We're talking like July to September-ish, around about then, I think. News came out, NASA came out and debunked. Turns out that the fucking, what's it called? What do they call it? Like, there's actually a constellation. That's it. There's actually 13 constellations, and it turns out that who invented it? I think it was the Babylons. Was it? I know the word written. Baby lions. Baboons? They're definitely not the baby lions, but that's how I say it in my head because I just read something. You know when you read, I don't know if anyone else does this, but when I read a word, right? What's the word? It's like an ancient society. The baby, it's spelled baby, Babylon. Babylon, of course. Kingdom of Babylon. Yeah, I've heard of that. Anyway, so they're the Babylons. But when I read it, for some reason, I just say the Babylons in my head, even though I know it's wrong. Whatever, I'm stupid. So, I do the dumbest stuff all the time intentionally. And that's turning my brain into slop. Like, I know it's pronounced Babylon, but when I read it, my brain still goes, Babylon. And I know I'm wrong. And I think it's me trying to amuse myself. I'm like, oh, Babylon. Sounds like baby born, you know? Babylon. Anyway, so they invented it. And shock horror, turns out that a system that was invented 3,000 years ago wasn't factually correct. NASA came out and shocked everyone and said that they actually ignored one of the constellations, one of the star things, and that it's called, I had it up. I even did research for this. Essentially, this is an article that explains it better than I can. To make a tidy match with their 12-month calendar, here it is. The Babylons ignored the fact that the sun actually moves through 13 constellations, not 12. So then they assigned each of those 12 constellations equal amounts of times to fit in with the, obviously, calendar year, being 12 months. Then turns out that, they've got it all wrong. So it turns out, guys, long story fucking short, I'm a Pisces. And that's just thrown out my whole week. Who would have thought? Like, I identified with an Aries, you know, because I'll read out my Aries traits, right? Apparently Aries, right? The Aries loves to be number one. So it's no surprise that these audacious rams are the first sign of the Zodiac. Does the Zodiac thing start in March? What? Anyway, like, that's me in a nutshell. Number one, man. You know, except for my career, life prospects, and most of the things I do. But other than that, when I piss, number ones. But that's my goal, right? To be the best. So I would say I identify with that. There's a lot more here. It's all boring. Fuck, I hate horoscopes. Then I go to Pisces, right? And I read those traits and characteristics that apparently now I am, or that I've been all along, and I didn't know. I don't identify with any of them, right? Empathy is the main one. I don't give a shit about really anything. That's one of my biggest flaws, is my lack of empathy. And it's not, it is a bad thing, to be honest. Like, I've talked about it before on the podcast. One of my big things is like, well, you can't care about everything. There's horrible shit that happens all around the world all the time. And it's horrible. And I guess I'm empathetic, but to a point, like, otherwise you just get sad. So that doesn't sound like the mantra of a Pisces, apparently, whoa, here we go. What are Pisces men like in bed? Let's see if this is accurate. In bed, Pisces men are the ultimate romantics and make erotic lovers, always favoring the subtle over the direct and the unspoken over the blatant. Their fantasies can be an ongoing inspiration. Okay, guys, I've found my people. I am definitely a Pisces. That is me to a T. That is Luke in a nutshell. When you think Luke in the bedroom, ultimate romantic, man, that people fantasize about for ongoing inspiration. That's all that world gym action that's been happening. Are Pisces men kinky? Whoa, what website is this? All I looked up was Pisces character traits. This is always a hard question, is it? I mean, just making it up. I love this. The person who's written this, like, ooh, a Pisces man's kinky? And they're like, ooh, tough one, hard to talk out of my asshole. As one person's idea of kinky can be very different to someone else's. Dude, they're always so vague. Individuals also vary a lot. This is a bad area to generalize in. So they've admitted that, hang on, what's this? This person who is writing about star signs has just said, well, I can't generalize here, but their whole job is to generalize. You read your horoscope for the day, it's always like, oh, you might be doing something adventuring, but also maybe not. And then the person's like, oh my God, I'm not. Oh, that's awesome. This is hilarious. So, yeah, also this is totally targeted at girls because it says, how to understand your Pisces man. How do you know if a Pisces man loves you? Chances are if you're reading this, no one loves you. So just a tip, girls. If you're looking up, why doesn't he love me? Start at the fact that you're looking up, why doesn't he love me, to do with these star signs. Perhaps trying to blame it on a fucking Zodiac constellation. Maybe try looking inwards and going, maybe it's my personality. That's just a hot tip. Very hot take, very hot tip. You're welcome. So yeah, that's just pretty much surrounded my whole week. No longer an Aries. I'm a Pisces. Let me know what you think of that. If I remember, or even, you know what? I'll set this a challenge for Reese because I know I'm going to forget. If Reese remembers, there will be a link below of the new updated 2020 Zodiac dates, so you can check what you are now. And the new one, they've just added in one called, I don't have it in front of me, something like Ocpheus, or I saw it earlier and I was like, oh yeah, even when I'm fucking reading the word, I can't say it. Ophiuchus. I think I said it right. Ophiuchus? Who knows? Sounds like an orifice. It's like a hole in your body, Ophiuchus. Anyway, so they've added a sign. Apparently, NASA just came out and just destroyed 3,000 years of, belief. I mean, and it's I read a bunch of, because I've looked this up before I've started talking just so I fully understood it. And clearly I didn't do enough research, but I did a bit. And all I found was just a bunch of opinion pieces from angry women mainly. I don't want to generalize, because I'm not someone who writes horoscopes, but they're all written by chicks. And then one of the articles was just like, it was just her failing to admit that her life was a lie. She's like, as someone who's invested quite an amount of time in the science of astrology, I'm like, no, astronomy is science. Astrology is literally made up 3,000 years ago by a bunch of people who were trying to give purpose to their citizens. I assume that's it, And like, what a shock. I don't get how you can be surprised that something written in it, something made 3,000 years ago doesn't hold up by 2020 standards. That's like being surprised that there's some crook shit in the Bible. You're like, yeah, it's an old fucking book. What do you want from it? It's not recent. They're still selling it surprisingly, but I wouldn't call it, they wouldn't be putting it under the new releases on Amazon or at a bookstore or something like that. It'd definitely be under, there's a reason why it has an Old Testament. And that's when it's old. That was old at the time of release, Yeah, some people are still, I'm not trying to have a crack at religion here. I guess I am. But come on. Like, that's funny. I've never even thought of that. I've just realized at the time of release, like the Old Testament, they couldn't even like go, oh, this is new. Like that was heaps old when they released the new version of the Bible. And the new version of the Bible is going to be one of the oldest books ever. Older than bloody Lord of the Rings. And that's an old book. So yeah, anyway, guys, I'm talking out of my butt. Who am I? Someone who writes horoscopes for a living? Probably. I'd be good at that, I reckon. I reckon if comedy fails, that's actually a pretty good career path for me. I did a video on it once. It's on my channel. You should go check it out. I've done a video on horoscopes if you want to hear 2017 Luke's thoughts on horoscopes. I don't know. I don't remember what I said. I think I just was in that. I think it was like this weird phase online where it was kind of like, not edgy, but like it was an ongoing meme to call horoscopes bullshit. I thought I was like cutting edge, being like, guys, turns out people who believe in this are stupid. And no one was like, wow, Luke, you are quite the observationalist. Yeah, that probably wasn't one of my better videos, but I definitely wrote a video on horoscopes. Pretty sure there's some banger gags in there, though, so would still recommend a geese. I haven't had a watch for a couple of years of that one. That would be weird if I just went back and watched my old videos. And I was like, haha, nice one, Luke. So yeah, that's really thrown up my whole week. And I just want to say, like, if I'm seemed a little off the last 24 years or whatever, that's probably why, because I thought I was an Aries. So anything that I've said in the past or done, any actions that I might regret, I'm going to just blame those on falsely being diagnosed as an Aries, when in reality, according to NASA, I'm a Pisces. So that's just, boom, mind blown. Now I'm going to have to change all my bloody profiles, because that's the first thing I put in, star sign. What else has been going on with me? Okay. Bit of a correspondence here from listener of the show, Jonathan. He's an American listener, and massive shout out to all our international guests of the show. I'll call you listeners, but I reckon you're I want to treat you more like guests. Guests, Jeff? Guests. I don't say the T in guests. Ugh. Anyway, I don't know why you listen to this podcast. It's hilarious. I think I've talked about it before. Someone on this show said they've been trying to learn English, and to help them, they've been listening to this podcast. That's hilarious. Imagine going like, oh, who's like a great example of the English language? Oh, we'll whack on 45 minutes of Luke Kidgell speaking out of his butt. And then they were going to come back to their English class, their second language, and be like, oh, I learnt the term, I don't know, fucking, I don't even know, the shaka the other day. Like, what's a shaka? It's like, oh, it's what you do if you smoke too much weed and want to just like you to your friend, you know. I'm probably the only sober person in the country that unironically pops shackers, I think. Just think it's a great hand gesture. Anyway, so got some correspondence. I'm getting very distracted this episode. From Jonathan, American guest. We treat all our international listeners from now on like a guest, which means we hold doors open. They get to go first kind of thing. They get some special treatment because we love international listeners here, and I appreciate them making the effort. I have one question. What the hell are Weet-Bix? Boom, right out of the gates. Jonathan wants answers. At first, I just thought they were the Australian version of Cheerios or Life. What does that mean? Or Life. Is there a cereal called Life in America? But then when you started talking about how many you eat, it started to confuse the hell out of me. If I could get some clarification, that would be great. Yeah, I probably should have explained this for the last 2 years on this podcast. I talk about Weet-Bix a lot. It's my go-to cereal. I do 7, and I often brag about how many I do on this podcast. I would say it's almost a staple of my personality at this point, just like Brett Lee and Tim Cahill. And I've never once bothered to explain to international listeners what the hell a Weet-Bix is. A Bix is just, it's pretty simple. And by the way, this is what amused me. He spelt wheat wrong in the subject of the email. He spelt it like how you just spell wheat, Wheat, because he's probably only ever heard me say it. So fair enough. It's actually spelt Weet hyphen Bix, Bix, because we're cool like that. And it's essentially, just a rectangle like thing of Bix. I don't know what to call it, of wheat. It's just wheat, and it's like you know, it's cereal. You put milk on it, and I would say they're about. Just really hard to explain because I've never had to explain this before. When you go to someone in Australia, like, oh, Weet-Bix, and they go, yeah, familiar with the concept. It's just a rectangle chunk of wheat, you know, about yay big, you know, and yay high. That'll help audio listeners. Yep. And they're delicious, but people mix and match them, and I think that's part of the fun. I personally have mine with a little bit of raw sugar on it. It's cheeky. It's a hella cheeky way to start the morning, but that's what I do. Some people go some cut up banana. Some people do honey. Some people, we've learnt on Luke and Lewis, my other podcast. Some people, we've learned on that some people, put water with them. Disgusting. Some people heat them up. Some people have them cold. It's just a wild thing because it's so plain, I guess, that you got to jazz them up somehow. Everyone has their own little thing to jazz them up, but it's definitely not like a Cheerio. Cheerios are like rings, yeah. We have Cheerios here, but I don't really eat them. Cheerio, I've never have. Cheerios, I think I know what they are. Yeah, they're little rings, aren't they? Little wheat rings. You're on the right track with the wheat. They're just not like in that. Geez, that really would have confused the hell, as he said, out of Jonathan or any international listener not knowing what they are, because you'd be like, imagine me going like, I don't want to brag, but I do 7 every morning, and Jonathan's just going like, mate, that's like 1 spoonful of Cheerios, 2 max. That's not a good brag, dude. I do a whole fucking bowl. He must have been sitting pretty chuffed that one day when he thought it was like Cheerios, being like, mate, I will go over to Australia and just demolish a Bix competition. If they're only doing like 7 to 10, I could do 50. So, no, it's nothing like Cheerios. We do have Cheerios here, I think. I don't know what your equivalent to Weet-Bix is. I'm going to look it up. American equivalent to Weet-Bix. I don't know why I'm doing this. Pretty much just for you, Jonathan. I'm going to that extra effort. Weet-Bix? Is that a thing you have there? I don't know. It says you haven't. Your ones are kind of rounded though. That's fucked up. Anyway, yeah, I think you've got something like that. Who knows? These might be all Australian. It's maybe a very Australian thing to just go, mate, it's wheat and milk. Eat it. So anyway, yeah, Jonathan, just wanted to clear that up for, I guess, yeah, being a guest of the podcast. We appreciate all our international guests here. And I feel like, yeah, extending a warm welcome to anyone. And there's a lot of people from the UK that listen to this as well. Germany. Who else? There's a big listenership in, I should check the stats one day and read them out where people listen from, you know. Anyway, guys, few flex chats came in during the week at LukeKidgellPodcast@gmail.com. Loving the jingles as well. Didn't get too many submissions from the a cappella versions that I did, which was a little disappointing. I got I think 2. We'll play them next week. To be honest, I don't want to trash the people who sent them in. They weren't great. But people tried, and that's really good. Someone literally just put a sound effect. I think it was you, Georgia. I remember it was Georgia. She put a sound effect at the start that went like, ding, and then it was just the raw audio of me singing, which is almost better in a way. But I was hoping for a little more production, like LukeKidgellPodcast@gmail.com or LukeKidgellPodcast@gmail.com. Perfect. So that's the standard, you know. We'll try again this week. Send those in to LukeKidgellPodcast@gmail.com, and also send in your flex chats. And apparently every single opener of this show is supplied by the people who listen to it. So this was yet again another fan submission for the flex chat intro, guys. This is Flex Chat. Yeah. Boom. Nothing but net. Flex Chat is a segment where we like to just show off a little. It's almost like verbal show and tell back in primary school when you bring in your coolest toy and you go, look what I have. My parents have more or less money than yours. That's pretty much what show and tell was. You know, there'd be always that one kid that came in with like the good Beyblade, the expensive one. And there was that hella rich kid that owned like the ring that used to rip him in. Dude, fuck that kid. I bet you that kid went to a private school, and I bet you that kid ain't even shit now. You know? That's what happens when you get your own Beyblade rink too early in life. You can't have too good that early. Even if I ever get rich, I'll never buy my kid a Beyblade rink. You know, I'll only ever buy them the base model of the toy and be like, suffer knowing that life's hard and there will always be someone that has better shit than you. You know, it's a good metaphor for life. So anyway, it's essentially show and tell. Apparently, I had a very traumatic childhood in regards to Beyblades, which were a popular toy when I was young, where you like ripped a spinning top from a cord and they used to battle each other, and it was sick. Okay, so this one came in from Pat, and he just wanted to flex upon everyone. He goes, "Hey Luke, Pat here. Welcome, Pat. Just got a quick little flex. I just ate a really tasty biscuit. I bet you didn't." Damn. See, he could have just stopped it at, "I just ate a really tasty biscuit," and I'd have been like, "Pat, sweet flex." But I love the extra just rubbing salt in the wound of, "Hey Luke, bet you didn't have a tasty biscuit." And you know what? He's right. Got to do some shopping tomorrow. There's no tasty bickies left in our house. I'm stuck eating apples and finishing off the bread that I now have to toast because it's not that fresh anymore. So that's where I'm at with my pantry currently. So that was a mad flex. Pat, good stuff. He also said, "P.S. Your little jingle helped me to remember your email address." Exactly. That's what they're for, guys. So keep the jingles coming in. Keep it fresh, you know. This one came in from Joseph, and this is a great flex. Bought a second-hand Harley last month. It has a 4-speaker CD player. Is that good for a motorbike? Why would you want a CD player on a motorbike? Am I stupid here? Wouldn't you have to listen with headphones? Imagine riding along, pumping tunes on a freeway. You'd just be like, That's it. Like, oh man, how's your new CD player? Yeah, good. What are you listening to? Oh, it's Queen. Now I'm going to chuck on some AC/DC. Oh yeah? Play it now. How would a CD player be good on a bike? Am I stupid? You wouldn't be able to hear that properly unless you're going really slow or at a traffic light. In that case, you're kind of playing it out loud. I don't know. I even feel sometimes self-conscious playing my music at the traffic lights with the window down. Sometimes I'll be conscious of other people's lives and be like, oh, I'll just turn it down for a sec. You know, unless it's a banger. Like if it's an absolute tune. If Mr. Brightside comes on, I'll turn it up. But it depends on the song, I guess. You know, when you're listening to like a guilty pleasure playlist, you know, I was at a traffic light during the week, Taylor Swift came on, I knew you were trouble. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I don't love that song. I do love it. It's a great song. I knew you were trouble when you walked in. It's a shame I mean that. Oh, God, my vocals are like a fine wine. Just getting better with age. And I just got embarrassed. I will admit. There was like a guy in a ute pulled up next to me, and I'm pretty ashamed of what followed. I just got self-conscious and I turned it down by 4 on the volume. I was pumping it at an 18. I jacked it down to a 14. So we still could hear it. It was almost more embarrassing, actually, because if you're going to listen to Taylor Swift, at least do it loud. Own it. Be loud and proud. What should you call her fans? Swiftinators, maybe? Swizzmeisters? Swizz dogs. What about having a swizz? Taking a squiz? What would you call her fans? We got no idea. Swizzle dizzle. Anyway, whatever she calls them, I should be that. But yeah, this bloke looked at me going like, is he softly playing Taylor Swift? And yeah, I fucked that up. So I don't know why you'd want that on a motorbike. You know, imagine if I was driving my Harley and trying to pump Taylor Swift. There's no walls to contain your secret love for Taylor, like in a car. Especially if you've got a Harley on as well. You can only really pump Triple M, but it's a CD player, so you're going to have to get like the best of Triple M hits from the 90s or early 2000s. And then Joseph follows it up with, I also found out last week it has ABS brakes, which are weird on a motorbike. But I guess that's good, right? Because he's flexing it. I'll be honest, Joseph, I don't particularly know enough about motorbikes to appreciate that flex as much as you do, but I'm sure that's great, and I'm happy for you. And I'm realizing now I may have read that one out in the podcast before. Perhaps. I do try and delete the ones that I've read out, but it's hard to keep track. This one comes in from, I've just written anus. What? Oh, I think it's supposed to be Angus. Poor fucking Angus. I'm just going to call you Anus from now on, mate. This one comes in from a loyal butthole named Anus. He said, "G'day, Luke. I thought I'd let you know that back in February, I copped an equal first place in the 400 hurdles at the Vic State Champs. Mate, now that's a flex I can appreciate. As a fellow athlete myself, and that's what I'm calling myself now. Used to be comedian, that was my identity. Haven't done stand-up in a while. Now I'm an athlete. That's my main thing now. So, mate, can absolutely appreciate that. How good? First, I would love to know your time. I'm disappointed you didn't include your time, Anus, because, mate, I struggled. 400 hurdles is a brutal event because the 400 meters is a notoriously brutal event for many reasons, because you've got to like sprint it, but it's just too long for the human body to fully sprint at your, what's it called? There's anaerobic, aerobic. Yeah, so anaerobic is sprinting, I believe. Your anaerobic capacity is the thing you try and build up so you can do it for 400 meters, but most people typically cark it about the 300 to 250 meter mark of a sprint. And the last 150 meters, you feel like you're running on the spot of a 400. Then adding in hurdles. You got to jump over shit? No way. I was never good at hurdles. I didn't, like in the Olympics, if you've ever watched people do hurdles, they kind of like glide over them horizontally. I never did that. I galloped. I was like a horse. I was like, ooh, bloop, bloop. I was so bad at hurdles. There was one race where I just gave up and started kicking them over. I mean, I was kind of doing it to make the fellas laugh. This was at like Little Athletics back in the day. I just started kicking them over and just did the whole race and didn't knock over any hurdles. And then they disqualified me and told me I was a bad sport, and they made me pick up all the hurdles. And that wasn't as funny when you have to go back and just pick them all up and be like, because the boys have stopped laughing by that stage, and you're like, it was a 7. Not worth it for a 7, that level of humiliation. But much respect, mate. So as I just said before, guys, that's the end of Flex Chat, by the way. Great flexes, guys. Keep them coming in at Oh, for fuck's sake. Keep them coming in. That's the wrong podcast sound effect. At Luke Kidgell Podcast at gmail.com. So many mistakes today. This podcast is just littered with errors. English errors, button errors. It's a mess, per usual. As I said earlier, I'm primarily now an athlete. So when people ask like, what do you listen to? If you listen to this or whatever, I'd be like, I've just listen to some athlete's podcast. And they're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. What do they talk about? You're like, just, athlete shit, like Harley Davidsons and, horoscopes, star signs, just athlete shit. So yeah, that's pretty much me. I'm actually, all jokes aside, I'm actually running really well. For how I'm progressing, I'm going fine. I would like to quicken it up, but god damn, I got tickets on myself. I caught myself in the mirror the other day and I went, geez, who's that hunk? And then went, Luke, you bloody legend. It's you. Who would have thought, huh? So, as I said earlier, guys, I'm thinking of, I've said this maybe a few months ago and I've really backed up my word. Late 2020 has been a massive glow up for me. I feel the best I have in ages. And I undeniably looked the best I have in ages, which is not difficult. I looked rough. I had, Rory Lowe in Perth, raging alcoholic, great comedian, great friend of mine, telling me that I look like shit. And that man drinks on a Monday. So that was a massive wake-up call. And so, I wasn't looking great. But now I feel like I've turned it around a bit. And I feel so good. I don't really give a shit what I look like, to be honest. But damn, I feel like more energized and way more productive. And who would have thought that if you took care of yourself, you would reap the rewards? It's like the horoscope thing. What a shock. So yeah, I've been going good. I ran a 19:07 for my 5K. I was originally running like 21 minutes back when I started. So I've taken a lot of time off. Then I ran a 19:45, which I think I mentioned on the podcast. And now I've taken, another 30. God, I'm shocking, aren't I? Another 37 seconds off that. 38. Cool. 38 seconds off that. So yeah, that wasn't hard to work out, Luke. Come on. So yeah, anyway, that's me. I've been smashing that well gym. Highly encourage you to do the same. I'm loving people keep me updated on the gram of how they're going. I've been seeing a few of you guys. Shout out to Blake. I think it's Blake. He often listens to this podcast. He reckons he listens to the podcast and he ran past me the other day. So he's probably listening to me talking about annihilating the gym and then he just sees me. That actually happened. Had a guy message me and we often wave to each other. Like you see those people on the bike track, you just like, it starts off with a nod because you're like, oh, we often run at similar times. And I think he knew who I was because he was like, oh, Lukey, well, Jim, So I was like, I always give him the thumbs up whenever we run past. And then he messaged me on Instagram the other day going, mate, good to see you back out there, crushing it per usual. Always love listening to your podcast while running. And I'm like, dude, imagine that. Just listening to the person talking about ripping it and tearing it up in the world gym and then just glancing over and seeing me in action. That man's got front row seats to Annihilation City. and it's VIP. He's a lucky man. Not many people get to see me in action. I am thinking of, you can search me on Strava. I think I have all my activities hidden currently. It's like a social media app for runners. It's pretty dorky, I guess. It's a real running nerd type thing. But if you're interested, I will be posting some of my runs up there. I'm just trying to work out how to disable the map feature because I don't particularly want people to know where I live, and B, where I'm running, like the exact parts where I run all the time. Because I run in the same places all the time, and I can't be able to switch it up. I like my routes that I run on. And that's simple. So yeah, people have been asking me to get on Strava. I've made an account. You can go follow me. It's public. Just search my name on there. And that's only if you want to see my runs. It's not anything else. It's just my running times. So if you're not into running, you're not missing out on anything. It's just for people who are curious to know how I get so elite. But yeah, I ran at 3:49 pace, which I'm pretty happy with. I reckon I can go faster. I was looking at my time for like the local park run. It's like this every thing. I don't know if it's a Victorian thing, or if it's an Australian thing, but it's like there's this like fun run that happens like once a week. It's kind of like a community thing called Park Run where everyone gets their times recorded. And I think I'm still like in the top 50 fastest times since back in the day. And it's 5 kilometers, right? And I haven't done this run in like 3 or 4 years. And I looked at my time today because me and my brother were thinking about getting back down there one Saturday morning. I was like, oh, let's try and beat our old times. I looked at my old time, 17 minutes, 42. I was doing for 5K. I did 19 minutes, thought I was a hero the other day. And apparently 17-year-old Luke was just shitting all over that. So I'm trying to get back to my old form. It's a struggle, but I'm doing my best, guys. I'm doing my best. Now, before we wrap up this episode, I did say I'd discuss it. Let's talk about early Christmas. And every year I say this, I do not even think for a second that I'm a Christmas Grinch. It's just the pre-early Christmas hype that rubs me the wrong way. For one reason, okay? Christmas, I think we can all agree, if you celebrate it, if you don't celebrate it, fair. But if you celebrate Christmas, I think we can all agree it's regarded by most as quite a special time of year. Note the word special. It's once a year. That's why it's special. Now, if you start celebrating it 6 to 8 weeks out from the actual date, that's not special. If you're celebrating it 8 weeks out and Meg's chucked up some Christmas lights and fairy lights on the bed, there's some Christmas decorations already in the bedroom, right? That's going to be up until early Jan. So therefore, that's 1/6 of my year that we're celebrating Christmas in our bedroom. Now, I love Christmas. Don't get me wrong. Very special time of year. But I love it when it's special. And I just worry that I see it happening a lot. You see it happening at shopping malls. All of a sudden, post Halloween, you start seeing, fucking bells and gifts and tinsel. And you're like, okay, whoa. Right? It's November. It's exam time for a lot of people. It's end of work time. People are finishing up projects for the year. Let's just get all our shit done all together. And then December 1st, let's go for it. I'm even allowing people a 25-day run-in, which I think is generous. Because really it should be just the 12 days of Christmas, as it says in the song. That's really when you should be going ham on the Christmas celebrations, 12 days out. Getting your 5 golden geese or whatever, your in a partridge, whatever, your partridge in the pear tree. That's when you should be going ham. But December 1st, boom, I'll give you that. Same month, go for it. Anything before that, the period that we're currently in, peaking too early. You're prematurely celebrating Christmas, and that's disappointing, isn't it? So yeah, just a warning for everyone. It's more for you. I don't really, I don't really care. It happens every year, but it's more just I want you guys to have a special Christmas, obviously, because I wish the best for all of you. And therefore, just a handy tip from me, make it more special if you just hold off for a couple of weeks on putting up the decorations. Because once they're up, you'll be like, ooh, it's actually Christmas now. Because I went over to Mum and Dad's house. Mum's got it up already. 2 weeks ago, she had it up. She's like, yeah, I just want to kind of get it done because, the end of the year is quite busy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's busy because of Christmas, right? So that's what, now it's not going to be busy because you've already done it. You've already done everything in November. So now you're going to have, nothing on in Christmas. So anyway, guys, let's not peak too early this year. I know that maybe my platform's not big enough to evoke too much change in this area, but I'm doing my best, okay? And don't worry, as soon as it gets to December, I'll be getting very festive. It's currently the silly season, but it is not yet the festive season, okay? I still get festive, There's still festivities, but not Christmas-related ones yet. It's just the silly season currently, and it's good to be back at it. So, guys, that is the end of the episode. Thank you all very much for tuning in. And, hope you have a good week. Thank you again for joining us, to all our international guests of the podcast, as well as our Australian locals. You guys live here, so you're not guests. Hope you all enjoyed. Tell a friend about the podcast. It helps. I appreciate people who talk about it and share it and bring their friends to shows. And I'll be talking about shows next week. Not announcing anything. I just meant I'm thinking of getting back into the stand-up game, but I've run out of time and I'll discuss it more next week. I'll write it down in my notes now, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. See ya.